Guys, welcome back to Brew Brew. Do I remember my intro? I don't think so. Okay, hold on. Here we go. Ah, 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 ah. Hola, mis amores. Welcome back to Brew Brew, a podcast by me, your host, Maria, where I talk about the magical and unmagical lessons I'm learning in my 20s via dark humor, messing up, a little angst, and most importantly, talking shit. So grab your cup, your choice of brew, and join the coven. So today's choice of brew is water. Wow, she's a hydrating girly. Cheers. So, it's been a minute. How are we doing? Um, let me catch you up. So, last time I talked to y'all, I kid you not, I think it was last September. Mhm. Mhm. And I am gonna be looking at my laptop for my notes because I am rusty. I haven't been on camera in a long time. But last time I talked to y'all, I still lived at my mom's. I was still in college. I was in my single era, and we still had a democracy or whatever remaining illusion of democracy. And where are we now? I'm recording this episode from the comfort of my own apartment. Wow, cheers, 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 cheers. You can't really see it too much in camera, but my couch is in fact blue and very, very soft. I sometimes do choose to go to sleep on my couch over my bed. We don't talk about it. Let's see. I'm a college graduate. I graduated from UHD in December of last year. I cried not at the graduation, but I cried when I turned in my last assignment. And there's a video footage of me on my phone where I'm crying and I'm like, I did it, you know? And if you followed my journey, you know college was a long road for me. From dropping out, starting all over again, community college, then going back to university. It's been a lot. I have decided that I'm going to start my law school journey soon. So we'll get there when we get there. But I feel the calling, I feel the need, and we'll get there when we get there. But ah. Let's see. What else do I have on the menu? Oh yeah, and I mentioned I was past tense in my single era. Well, single no more. I fell in love with my amazing boyfriend. I'm not giving names, but he's so sweet to me. He's funny. He keeps me accountable, which is a good thing. But when he calls me out and clocks me for things that I said I wanted to improve on, and then I don't do it, he is very much like, so didn't you say you wanted to work on this? And then I feel called out, and me who like plays the victim, I'm like, how dare you say that to me? But really, it's him pushing me to be a better version of myself, not even for the sake of us, but for the sake of me being better, because he wants me to be a better person for myself, which I think is very beautiful. Love him. He's so sweet. He's so fine. Okay, focus. So next topic. um and well, yeah, now we're dealing with the topic of the new administration. You know, the funny thing about this lifetime, this timeline even for me, is Trump became president in 2016 the first time, and that was the first year I was able to vote. That was the first year I was, had faith that my vote mattered and that things would turn out great. And then that happened. Mind you, that was when I was like 18, maybe had just turned 19. And my road ended. I was then at a women's college in North Carolina. I was at Salem College. Missed the girlies there. They were so sweet to me. And yeah, it was terrible. So then fast forward to 2024, I felt like that college fresh woman, first year. And I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? Generally, what the fuck are we doing? And it's rough. It's rough for so many reasons, because at the end, this oppression is intersectional, baby. So there's literally so many layers to it in my personal life and my professional life. For the little context I will give you on that is, at the end of the day, I am an immigration paralegal. So I am working with immigration attorneys every day. And as soon as something new happens, boom, I am living it through my job. As soon as something happens, I am living it through my personal life. Because in case it isn't obvious, I am the child of immigrants. I am the family member of immigrants. I am the loved one of immigrants. I am descendants of my existence on its own is a representation of what my community has been able to do, how my community has been able to progress. So I do take all of this personal, and it's been hard. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's been very difficult. It's been scary. But there's a form of resistance that we don't really talk about much. And I want to talk about it today. So join me. What inspired today's episode is going back to my job as an immigration paralegal. I was going through the ringer because it was rough, but one of my bosses pulled me to the side, and he's like, I know this is rough, but you have to look at the evidence. And funny enough, I had already recorded an episode for y'all called Look at the Evidence, but then I just never posted it. And this new episode came about, but it's kind of very similar to the last one, where it plays on the same topic of look at the evidence. So my attorney boss told me, you have to look at the evidence. You have gone through very difficult things in the past. Y'all know I've gone through difficult things in the past, because look at my previous episodes. I've trauma dumped from day one. But he doesn't know that. So I was kind of scared when he brought it up, because I'm like, what do you know? But let me continue. So when he's telling me you've gone through difficult things that you thought you could never overcome, and yet you did it, and yet you're here. You failed and you got back up. You continued on despite everything that could have gone wrong, and that did go wrong, you still did it. So you have to look at the evidence. You have to look at the evidence of you did it though. You survived though. You overcame though. Despite everything. you know? And that kind of gave me that push of like, this is difficult, yes. Overwhelming, yes. But there's something empowering, kind of ironic. There's something empowering about realizing, to in my personal experience, where you have been so low and have gone to the depths of hell even, and you've wanted to end everything in the literal sense, and yet you overcame those obstacles, yet you chose to continue living. You chose to continue. Yeah, you did the hard thing, because there are many different types of trauma. There are many different types of struggles and oppressions. But I can only speak about my personal battle with mental health. Like, to be at a position mentally where you don't see the point of your own existence, and you try to prove to yourself that you're not worth being here, and you try to end it on more than one occasion, but you survive, but you then turn around and do the work to prove to yourself, yes, you are meant to be here. So I'm gonna do the difficult thing of staying alive, and not just staying alive and existing, but thriving and making a life that you are proud of, a life that you want to share with others, a life where you want to even create your own life in some time of future, and you see now the worthiness of you being alive. That's crazy. Like, that's a crazy concept. That's so inspiring, because at one point you didn't care. Ooh. At one point you didn't care if you were alive, and now the evidence here is you did the most difficult thing for yourself, which was staying alive when you didn't want to, and now you're fighting for a better life for yourself, for your loved ones, for your family, for the people that you care about. And that is so beautiful, because you're choosing to push forward despite the obstacles that are in your way. Because goddamn, there are so many obstacles. I was telling my best friend Carlos, I was like, bitch, it is so difficult to be alive. Please don't call my therapist when I'm saying this. It's meant to be a joke. It's so difficult to be alive, because once you decide to stay alive and live your life and thrive, everything you realize is difficult. Shit's expensive. People are mean. The president wants you dead for some godforsaken reason. And you have to figure it out. Suck it up and figure it out. Because I'm going to talk about this later. You do nothing. You don't accomplish anything if you just stay in the victim mindset and pity yourself and go, wah, wah, wah. This is hard. How could this happen to me? I'm going to pout and stay here. Congratulations, you did absolutely nothing. And I don't mean this in a mean way, because I love a good victim mindset here and there. But you cannot stay there permanently. I'm very much of the mind of, you can complain for 5 minutes. And then you have to ask yourself, what are you going to do about it? And carry on, because the world does not care. And I don't mean that in a way. I mean it in a, everyone is going through something. So the world is not going to stop because you yourself are going through something. Take that how you want to take it. Take it how you want to take it. But I continue, right? So what before I tell you the main quote of today, I also created this episode, or sat down and got my camera and all this stuff, because through everything that was going on in my life and that continues to go on with my life, I miss having that creative outlet of sitting down here with y'all and being like, hey, this is fucking crazy, right? Like, what is going on? But also like putting a voice into some of the thoughts that a lot of us are having, but not a lot of us are saying, you know? And I love that there's things that are happening like Substack and all the other stuff. But I realized at my core, I am a storyteller. At my core, I am a writer. So this is my creative outlet to express to you what I think, what I feel, and hopefully it reaches the right audience, so you don't feel like you're the only person that's going through a shit show, and that you can see that yes, this is a shit show, but again, what are we gonna do about it? Like, collectively as a community, what are we gonna do about it? Like, let's brainstorm, let's get in the chat, go in the comments, like, what are we gonna do about it? Because one thing for certain is, this is not the adulthood I was promised as a kid. It is not. There's this meme on Facebook or Instagram that's like, life is so difficult. I thought growing up, yeah, I thought my biggest problem as an adult was going to be like a Bratz Rocks Angel problem, where I wouldn't know what I was gonna wear that day. But no, my biggest problem today is, so are we gonna die, or is there gonna be another world war? Is tomorrow even promised? Like, so many layers to it. But the quote, I'm gonna look at my screen now because I don't want to butcher this quote. So going back to the earlier topic about what's a form of resistance here that we are not looking at in the chaos of all of this. And that to me is love. Today's episode is called Love as a Form of Resistance. And James Baldwin does a really good job of expressing what I've been thinking that I didn't even know there was already a quote for. And let me tell you the quote. So James Baldwin says, love has never been a popular movement, and no one's ever wanted really to be free. The world is held together, really it is held together by the love and the passion of a very few people. Otherwise, of course, you can despair. Walk down the street of any city, any afternoon, and look around you. What you've got to remember is what you're looking at is also you. Everyone you're looking at is also you. You could be that person. You could be that monster. You could be that cop. And you have to decide in yourself not to be. So what is that? So what is James Baldwin telling us? We neglect love as a form of resistance because it's not even profitable. It's not newsworthy. It's not, love is seen as weakness. But I take this as, when you look at resistance, when you look at existing through the lens of love, you have this empathy for each other as a human being. You understand why certain people make certain decisions, and you understand why you make certain decisions, even if it's out of survival, out of tradition, out of habit, but you yourself have to choose what you're gonna do about it. Like, I'll give some bullet points here. So for example, I, with my upbringing and with my background, I could have chosen to hate a lot of things. But when you look at the lens through your lenses through a love lens, you see how when someone's tired, you want to you relate to that because you've been tired, right? You see someone on the bus that's like standing up, you let them sit down because you know what it's like to be on your feet all day. You see a stranger walking by you, you like their outfit, and you remember, oh, I remembered when I was complimented from my outfit and that made me feel good. Let me compliment them because I genuinely like their outfit, and that makes their day. And those are simple acts of love to one another as humans, but they translate to bigger pictures because, like, the bigger idea of us choosing to love each other despite our differences, despite our backgrounds, despite our socioeconomic class, despite the class, despite so many things. Love forces you to look at the person as a human being as opposed to an opponent, an oppressor, and an enemy even. But I'm not saying to tolerate bullshit. I'm not saying to tolerate oppression. I am not saying that you have to just take it as it is. No, I never said that. What I'm saying is, when you choose love as a form of resistance, you can incorporate that in so many ways in your life, where since love is seen as a weakness, you choosing to love your community, you choosing to love yourself is the resistance. Because when society tells you you are better off dead, hey, we don't want you because of your status, because of who you are, because of who you represent, choosing love, choosing to exist, choosing to pour into your loved ones, to your community, you are resisting the big man, because you're saying, I'm going to be here and I'm going to love and show you that despite everything, all the hate you're throwing at me, all the bullshit you're telling me, you're shoving down my throat, I will choose to love. I will choose joy. I will choose happiness. I will exist. I will resist with my existence. I will continue on. I will love. I will, despite it all, choose to see the better side of humanity and be that better part of humanity, because I know what love has done for me. I know that the kindness of a stranger has helped me to go forward on another day. I know that the kindness of my boyfriend, of my mother, of my father, of my best friends, of strangers have pushed me to become better, because I see the fruit of love. I see how the human experience is so much more gentle, more beautiful when you have people, even strangers, rooting for you, when they get nothing out of it if they're rooting for you, but it's just the connection of the human experience. So why choose hate? Why choose to look down on others? Why get that fucking ego boost, whatever it is, by being condescending? Like, what do you generally get out of it? Then, one, being a piece of shit, and two, how do I say this in English? Como tragándote tu propio veneno, which is like swallowing your own venom. Like you can throw hate at me, but if I look at you and I say, yeah, you're weird, and I continue moving on with my life and choosing joy and love and all this good stuff, you did absolutely nothing by doing that to me. And that's why I say love is in its most pure form an act of resistance, where you're telling, yes, all these policies are happening, all these laws are happening, all these fucking executive orders are happening, but in my lens of love as a form of resistance, I'm choosing to, despite it all, continue on and choose love. And in that way, like, vote in what I want to see, do the community work and what I want to see, out of love for my neighbor, out of love for my loved ones. So yeah, love is a form of resistance, and we don't see it that way, but it's such a powerful, quiet, even form of resistance that we take for granted. And I encourage us to dive more into it. There's a book I want to read, and I always start it, but I never finish it, which is Bell Hooks' All About Love. I'm literally looking at it on my bookshelf right over there. So when I read that, I will discuss it with you more. But there's just so much beauty and being decent to each other, you know? I understand that things are difficult. I'm not going to tell you they're not. But if it's one thing I've learned, is the victim mindset is not going to save you. Not now, not ever. I'm a read right here. You can cry about it, no matter what it is. There's a lot of things that all of us are dealing with. Maybe because of the administration, maybe because of our personal life, maybe because of our professional life, academic life. You can see where the following is going to apply in your personal life. But you can cry about it, but the work still needs to get done. 1. 2, you can rest, and I encourage rest. I really do. It does so much more for you. But you don't use rest as an excuse to remain paralyzed in your own life. This is your life. A fun example to this is you can live out your life. Your Pinterest board can be your life. Like, live your life as your Pinterest board. Make it happen. You know? Like, you can rest, but you cannot remain paralyzed. You can fail, because you are going to fail in things here and there. But it's only the end when you stop trying. You know? And you can give up. There's some things that you should give up. I'm going to tell you this firsthand. There's some things you should give up. There are some people in your life you should give up. There are some situations in your life you should give up. There are some things you should actually step away from and say, this is enough. This is where I draw the line. But your story is not done there. Your life is not over. You need to learn how to pivot. And that's what I think is the answer to the angst I've been feeling in my 20s. The answer is to pivot, because there's always going to be something bad that's gonna happen. But if you learn to pivot, you don't fail. Because even if the door that was in front of you was closed, by pivoting, you can see, I guess, the bright side of it, but you actually create an action plan for what your next step is going to be, instead of staying there feeling sorry for yourself, feeling sorry that this happened to you, victimizing yourself, pitying yourself. No, you change the game plan. That's literally what your 20s are about. That, I think I discovered it. You know what? Podcast show over. Last episode. No, but like literally your 20s are about pivoting. You failed the class, pivot, do better next time. You figure out what that looks like for you. Your partner did you dirty? Okay, you pivot. You either set new boundaries, you enforce your boundaries, or you leave them. I heard a quote of someone say, and I use this lightly. She said, I'm never going to feel sorry for someone for being in a situation or with someone when you chose to be there and you could have left. Mind you, disclaimer, there are exceptions to all of this. We're talking about like in situations of abuse. We're talking about situations of abuse more than anything. I can firsthand say, I understand why people don't walk away the first time and why people stay. But what I will say is, if you are safe enough in a safe situation where you can leave, have all the points covered, and then run for the fucking hills. Run for the fucking hills, my God. But, you know, that's when certain things have to be taken into consideration, where, like, you know, it's not as simple as it sounds. But sometimes, for others, when it's not to that degree of severity, sometimes it can be as simple as, okay, I'm good. Like, this is as much as I've wanted to deal with. I dealt with too much, actually. I'm leaving. And that is that, you know? But it comes back to pivoting, you know? You don't want to become a victim to your own life. You don't want to become a victim to your own choices, because you are more in control than you think you are. And even in a biblical lens, God will help you if you help yourself too. Manifestation works the exact same way. You can manifest the career, the boyfriend, the opportunity, the home. But if you don't put in the work, that manifestation is simply but a wish, but it's not an actual active manifestation, because you're not doing the work to get to it. So you have to pivot. You have to learn to adapt to your situation and continue going, because guess what, babe? We're all doing this at the same time as you are, you know? So I understand even the frustration that people in my life earlier, like way back, who would get frustrated with me. Mind you, I was at my most depressed, but would get frustrated with me saying, I can't do this anymore. Because to them, it was like, you have to pivot. But I didn't have the maturity at that time to understand that. I just thought, because I felt bad and I wanted things to be done with forever and ever, amen, that everyone should stop and be like, oh, we'll figure it out for you. When the hardest part about this whole thing is that's what makes it hard. You have to figure it out. But let me go back to a point I made here. I love my boyfriend, my friends, and my family, because they remind me that strength looks different for everyone. But none of them allow me to pity myself and stop completely, because when I have given up on myself and the current version of myself, they have dreamt such beautiful realities for me that inspire me to see for myself, for me to do the work, to see how far I can go and what can I accomplish. You know, they it's really cutesy even, because they've told me, I see you doing this and doing that, and then I'm like, really? I can do that? And then it like turns that gear of, well, yeah, why not me then? Yeah, I can do that. Let me try it, you know? And that's your community pouring into you. And my friends, my loved ones, everyone I've mentioned, they are my safe space when I don't feel safe within myself. And in turn, as I was saying, they encourage me to find safety within myself and become my own safe space. And I love them for that dearly. So an extra point I will add to this. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see this? For my audio listeners, it's a graphic of a cute girl sitting on top of a mushroom next to another cute little ghost sitting on a mushroom with a crown that he is wearing that says the word hope. She says, "Am I moving too slowly?" And he answers, "You don't need to go fast in order to go far." I'm going to repeat that. Hope is telling her, you don't need to go fast in order to go far. So I think we are very harsh with ourselves, and that we think everything needs to go, 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 go now for it to be valid, worthy. And I encourage you to choose love as a form of resistance, even in choosing to love yourself and give yourself grace and compassion. Because another quote I really love is one that says, "Actually, life is beautiful and I have time." And as someone who has anxiety, I want to control absolutely everything. Everything. A cute inside joke with my people is that I schedule even crying time, which is not true anymore. But I am a Google Calendar girly and I have like everything color coded, etc. But you have to let life do its thing. You don't become a victim to your life. You choose to love through it all, despite it all, and one day at a time, you know? And my concluding statement here is, love is not a weakness. Love is what helps you to keep going, because in the crumbs of kindness that you can give or you can receive, you remember that there is beauty in connection, even if faint, in a world that tells you that you are better off not existing. So love, resist, laugh, cry, and do it all over again. And with that, I leave you. And I hope to see you soon. And choose love in a world that tells you that love is weak, that love is not necessary. Don't take anyone's shit. Keep yourself alive. I genuinely think that's a Gerard Way quote. But I'll see you in the next one. And choose love despite it all. Love y'all. Besitos.